Hey, it's Larry. Welcome to Stewarding the Wealth Transfer. So I had to drop another idea on you. I was kind of praying and thinking about what I'm learning, and I want to talk about destiny today and how dollars interact with destiny. At least those are things we talk about on this channel. We obviously, it's Stewarding the Wealth Transfer. We talk about money, but we really talk about destiny. And I heard one of the best sermons. In fact, I can't remember another sermon that I've heard on destiny. And this was at the Randy Clark series up at Sunrise last week. And the head of his ministry, it's called Global Awakenings. And his name was Tom Jones. And he spoke on destiny. And it was so powerful. And what amazed me is how unemotional the altar call was. And yet 40% of the room emptied up into the altars. And I think that just shows that people are concerned about destiny. They want to know about their destiny. And it's not something that the world can offer, because your destiny is what God has called you to do from before you were born. It's what the highest attainment, I believe, that you can have is walking in the destiny that you've got. And I think what he uses to assist you in achieving your destiny is your dreams. And I want to talk a little bit about how dreams interact with three different things. People have ministries, they have businesses or jobs, and they can be investors. And many of you are hoping to become investors. And I talk about, what it's like to be an investor. And you need to have a ministry, but your ministry doesn't have to be based inside the church. Should you be supporting and attending a church? Absolutely. Your tithes should go to the church. But you don't need to do ministry only in the church. In fact, you should be so committed to ministry that you do ministry 6 days a week, and sometimes on Sunday. Is that people are wrestling with their destiny, and they're wrestling with dollars, and how do those two come together? And so I don't know that I know these things, but I want to talk to you about what I've observed. Now, if we were to have a conversation about thermodynamics, it would be very difficult, because you're probably not an expert at it, and I'm not either. I know there's a couple laws of thermodynamics, and it's related to elements and different things, and I'm really not qualified to have that conversation. I don't have anything to hang on the coat hooks of knowledge, anything that helps me relate. But that's what psychologists have described. Theory on learning is that you need to have different coat hooks on the wall so that you can move from here to here, because it's not a very big gap. But if you have no knowledge on that wall, you really can't talk about that topic. But about ministry, you know what businesses are, you know what an investor is, and you know what destiny is, and you know what dreams are. Well, I think they're all five tied together, and I want to talk about the three things of ministry, business, and investor. So many of you, probably most of you, think that you hope that you're destined to be an investor, and you think that that will be great. And I want to tell you, as somebody who has been a pretty successful investor. I mean, there's a lot of people who are way more successful than me, but I'm more successful than most people hope they could be. And after having a pretty easy last 3 years, my wife got kind of tired of it, because I got to spend a lot of time here and I wasn't very productive, and I really didn't do anything. And when you're an investor, you are successful at having your money work for you instead of you working for your money. And so I've been able to do that in a number of ways. And if you followed the parable of the dinar, where I talk about the story of a young investor as he's come into money and how he should steward it, I've been able, by the grace of God, to spin the plates well. So it's not hard to do what I do. And I've shared with you that I work under 4 hours a week, and I have all this time. And to be honest, it's been really sad. I am very thankful for the opportunity, but if this is your goal, it's very sad. I had to experience it because nobody ever told me that, but I'm telling you that you don't want to be just an investor. Now, if you're a successful investor, it provides a place that you can be an even better business person and an even better minister. Do you know why? Because when I was in ministry, I wasn't paid very well, and I was always frustrated because I wanted to be able to live in a house that ministry provided. But ministry never provided a house for me. Well, I lived in a 150 square foot house. I mean, not 150 square foot. I paid $150. In fact, my first pastorate, it's so funny. I ended up, one of the deacons in the church offered me a mobile home for $275 a month. But there was one house in this town of 550 that was cheaper, and it was right next to the post office. Literally one of the smallest houses I've ever seen. The problem was it was pink. And the guy who owned it, his name was Riley, and he obviously got the pink paint dirt cheap at the hardware store, which there was one in town. And so I just didn't really want to pay $275. I wanted to pay $150. But I wasn't living in a pink house, okay? So this was the 80s. It wasn't the new millennium, and I wasn't going to, as a single young man, live in a pink house. There's no way. So I told him, I'll pay your $150, but I'm not living in a pink house. And he started cussing up a storm, but nobody else wanted to live in the pink house either. So some investors make stupid decisions, and he had to repaint the house. And I ended up, but that house was so small. Well, how small was it, Larry? It was so small that I took a picture of myself, and there was 4 rooms, and I have 4 limbs, and I was able to put 1 foot in every room of the house. 1 foot. There was a bedroom, a bathroom, the kitchen, and the front room, and I could lay in the hallway. And 1 room was in every room of the house. It was about 420 square feet, I think. And so that was what ministry provided for me, but I couldn't own it. And I think it's important that you have a future of where you can own a house. So if you're in ministry, you're probably frustrated because, I don't think 10% of pastors are probably paid very well. And but what's weird about pastors when they get paid is they think, I should make more money. And I think God is telling pastors, hey, you should make more money. But they make a mistake. I'm just throwing this stuff up on the wall and seeing if any of it sticks. And I might be right and I might be wrong, but think through with me on this. They think, I'm a pastor. God's telling me I should make more money. Therefore, I should make more money in ministry. Well, I don't know that God's telling you that. I think God's telling you should do ministry. I think God's telling you you should make more money. And I don't think your ministry necessarily needs to pay you more money. So, now that after 8 years of ministry, I got married, and I finally thought, man, I've got a beautiful wife. She wanted always to be a pastor's wife. She's all excited. And this 30 years ago, as you might know. And we didn't get any good offers. And God told me that, hey, Larry, you're supposed to become a builder. And that seemed like to my wife, the dumbest idea ever. And I've never told you this, but, I felt like I was called to make more money. And so do you know what I did? I went and worked for minimum wage because I didn't know what I was doing. So I had to make a contribution. So I talked a builder into hiring me for minimum wage, but I had access to doing more important things, and they said that's fine, and they liked me. And then I moved to another company, and again, I got minimum wage, but I learned how to do panelized housing, and I learned how to put houses together, manufacture them in one building, and then put them in a container and ship them to wherever and put them together. So I learned complex ideas from the first 2 jobs that I had. And God was teaching me, that was the beginning of how to grow businesses and build businesses. And the most comfortable life you can have, if you're called to comfort, and I don't think you are, but it is really nice to be an investor and have your money work for you. But, the reason that God is calling you and you've got a stirring in your heart, in my opinion, the reason God's calling you to business is because business is where it's at. Business is where you get to impact your employees and you get to impact the world. And I believe that God is calling many of you into business. And I want to be there to encourage you and help you. And, in Proverbs, it talks about really, it's, there were 85% of the world was agrarian at that time. So they worked with the farm and the soil and animals. And so there's a proverb, it might be in Proverbs 18 possibly, that talks about an empty stable stays clean, but one that has animals in it needs to be cleaned. I mean, basically, you get to deal with a lot of crap if you have a business, but you will be successful, but you have to deal with crap. Let me propose this model that you should consider, and it depends on the opportunities. But here's a mistake that most business people make. This is my observation. God tells them, you need to start a business. They go, God's telling me to start a business. And he says, yes. And then they start doing really well and they start making more money. And so they raise their lifestyle instead of increasing their investor potential. It's inevitable that your business is going to have ups and downs. And if you continue to live on 90% of what you make and give away 10% of what you make, you do get blessed to God, but you still go through difficult times. And if you're smart, you're going to live on a very small percentage of what you make, and you're going to increase your investments. And so you can begin in time to live on your investments and do your business for fun. And then your business is not your identity, just like your ministry should not be your identity. I don't know if your business... Now, it is very biblical for a minister to get paid for doing ministry, and even talks about, a minister's worthy of a double portion. But I think it's just important to understand the difference between your ministry, your business that you may or may not have, being an investor, your destiny, and your dreams. So let me go back over it. You have a destiny that you're probably not meeting, but God has called you to it, and you may have prophetic words, and if you don't have them yet, I believe you're going to get them, and they may be prophetic dreams. But God is going to call you to do a greater thing than you could ever do on your own. It's huge. It's enormous. And I even sense it, even as I'm speaking, that if it's really big and really crazy, I think that's God. Because you would only challenge yourself to a small thing, but God is going to challenge you to a huge thing, far bigger. And I'm going to share some of the dreams that I have. But that's your destiny. So your destiny is what God has called you to. Your dreams is how you put it together with the Holy Spirit as He talks to you. But you've got to deal with your ministry, which you're always called to do. There's no doubt you're called to do ministry. But you know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb and tell you what happened to me when I was last weekend after I got this impartation. Well, this actually started happening to me after I started hanging around with Dr. Hammer and Dr. List. You hang out with godly people, a friend of the wise becomes wise, and a friend of fool becomes fools. And I think there's a principle in the kingdom of God. You hang around with anointed people, and God's gifts and anointing begin to follow after you. But I got this word for a young pastor, and I actually gave it to him. And I said to him, the Lord has called you to befriend billionaires and enormous, rich, influential people around this area. I'm not going to tell you which town. And I think this applies actually to a number of metroplexes. I think that Longview happens to be the 143rd biggest metroplex in the United States, if I remember right. And a metroplex is, like LA would be one of the biggest metroplexes. It's probably 100 miles across. A metroplex is comprised of a number of cities that are kind of continuously adjoined to each other. And so what I believe because Kim Clement has said there's an apostolic reformation coming. And what's that going to look like? What is the kingdom of God going to look like as it comes together? And I think that there are people who have destinies inside and outside of the church, and they need to be pastored and they need to be befriended. But there's pastors who are listening to what I'm saying and they're going, yeah, I want billionaires in my church. But pastor, you've got a vision that's this big. You've divided your county. There's 100 churches in your county, and you've divided it into 100 pieces, and you think, well, I'd like to be twice as big, and so somebody else will have to be smaller. So I would like 2% of my county to come to my church. And that's my calling. I mean, that's really a big gift. Well, meanwhile, a billionaire in your community or outside of your community, he's got a destiny to take over one little piece of technology for the whole world. And he's battling China on one side and Russia on the other. And the European Union is pushing back on him. And you're all worried about your little 2% of people. And you expect with your little tiny vision that you can pastor a guy who's got a vision and a destiny to impact the entire world, and you want to get him to minister inside the little tiny church that you've got. You got to change your paradigm if you're going to pastor that guy, and you probably don't get to have him in your church. But I'm giving you a word that I believe is true. I believe that God is raising up pastors who will be disciplers and not hirelings to enormous leaders in every metroplex across the country and even the world. And these pastors are going to be kingdom pastors, and they're not going to be recruiting these leaders to their own church. They're going to say, God, you do it. And you need to have a passion for their dreams. And you reach out to them and say, what is the Lord telling you, and how can I help you? And you know what? You buy lunch. You buy lunch the first time, they're not going to let you buy lunch the second time. And you have to go to different places than you would go if you're going to take the ordinary people that make up the majority of churches. It's a different thing. Most people can't do this because they begin to allow their identity to be expressed through their ministry. And they have to tell everybody, yeah, well, I was, Melinda called me the other day. Well, I was talking to Bill last week. And, Jeff, Jeff who? Well, Bezos. I work for Bezos. Bezos, however you say it. God is raising up people to pastor even these ungodly people. And I don't know if those guys are salvageable, honestly, for the kingdom, because I think that's up to God. But there's up and coming kingdom, new wealth, billionaires that need people to befriend them and help them. And their metron, which is, a way of describing their influence, is half the world. And they need people who've got enormous visions to reach out to them and not be selfish and want to bring everything back. So that's a calling for kingdom pastors who are pastoring God's visionaries to their destiny, but there's nothing in it for them. So there's destiny. There's being an investor, because you're going to have wisdom and God's going to give you blessing and you're going to know how to invest it. And the 8 wells of blessing are going to be your portion, and you're going to begin to invest that money, and it's going to pay you. And what you should do is you should live off your investor portion. But I'm telling you that God is calling many of you to start a business, and you're going, well, I don't want a business. And if you've had a business, you're going, I hate having a business, because there's crap everywhere. There's my crap, their crap, and other people's crap, and it's messy. And the Bible says that if you have to clean the barn, if it's a productive barn, but you don't have to clean anything because there's no crap if it's not used, if it's empty. But some of you, even though you don't need the money, you need the impact. And you're saying, well, who do you get the impact? Yeah, it's a lot of impact. It's a lot of impact on you because it's painful to have employees and it's frustrating. And I used to have a bunch of employees. The most I ever had is about 12 or 15. I didn't enjoy it. And I would have twice that many subs on my job. So I'd have 40 or 50 people working for me in a day. But they weren't all paid directly by me. I was telling their bosses what to do, for drywall, painters, roofers, siders, insulators, plumbers, electricians, foundation, excavators, the list goes on. It's not fun to have a bunch of employees because there's crap everywhere when you got employees. But you've got impact, and you've got customers when you've got businesses. And so I believe that God is going to raise many of you up, and you're going, I don't know why, but I've got an urge to have a business. In Fiji, we noticed that people just need a job. They get paid, many of them get paid minimum wage, which isn't what you would want to live off of, but they're happy to have a job. It's a valid ministry to offer people a job. I have a friend who I'm going to introduce you to. His name is Mike, and he has a labor-intensive recycling operation where a lot of they don't need college to do what he needs done. And he gets people that are just out of jail and all kinds of things, and he gives them an opportunity to get their life straightened out and get going to church, get their life cleaned up, and they can make a difference. But he's making a difference in discipling those people. That's why some of you are called. You're going, why is God calling me to start a business? I know he is, but I can't believe it. It's because you need to impact your customers and you need to impact your employees. And then there's ministry. And some of you are frustrated. You think because you're a minister that's where all your money's going to come from. You're going, I'm not getting enough money. I know what that's like. I've been that guy. I was that guy for 8 years. I didn't know how God could do it. And some boards aren't going to allow you to have ministry. You know what? When I left the ministry, I did it so that I could do ministry. Because, and if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm not belittling it because it's very godly and very biblical for pastors. And they're even called to get a double portion. But even though, if you don't think you're getting enough money in the ministry, then ask God, is that you or is that my flesh? And I think God might be saying, yeah, I'd like to see you get paid more. But don't assume that you have to get that money through doing ministry. I don't like it when people want to get paid for doing ministry. I like doing it for nothing. I want you to be good for nothing. I want to be, and I think I am, I'm good for nothing. And I think that's a great phrase, and I'm trying to figure out if we should have that on a shirt, be good for nothing. I don't know, it might have a little B at the top, and then good, and then the number 4, and then, one of those signs like none of this, like, and put thing in the middle with a red. I don't know. That's how my brain works. I don't know. I think it'd be fun to have a shirt that says "Be good for nothing." Where do dreams come in all this with destiny and everything else? Dreams are important because they help you tie together between what God's calling you to do. Come on, Lily. Dreams, I think, are really important because we are created in the likeness of God, and when we dream, we become a unique. That's a unique attribute that only God can do. My dogs, as much as I love them, they have bad dreams at night, but they don't have dreams of their potential and dreams of their destiny and dreams of having a business and having a ministry and being an investor. I believe many of you are called to be an investor, and we're going to help you learn how to steward the wealth, and you're going to be an investor. And if you're wise, you're going to live on a small portion of your investments. And then you're going to start businesses so that you can impact your community and you can impact your employees. And you're going to do ministry all the time because you're good for nothing. That's exactly what you are. You're good for nothing. I hope that you are, like me. I want to be good for nothing. And I do not like the tension of thinking, I need more money, God, and I only know how to do ministry. Well, I think that God is saying, I'm sick and tired. Well, yeah, I'm going to say it. God is sick and tired of people who think that ministry only happens in the church. I've envisioned most churches as a circle, and everybody's got their chair pointed in, and God is saying, hey, pastor, will you tell your business leaders who've got big visions and want to fix things to turn their chairs around 180 degrees so they'll stop trying to fix everything in the church? I hate it when my customers tell me what they don't like about my businesses. I often invite them to go participate in somebody else's business. And I think some of you pastors should probably do that to some of your parishioners. But you think you can't do that. But if you're not the best deal going, then why should they stay where you are? I tell my storage customers who are complaining about something, I listen to them, and sometimes they're right. Most of the time they're not. And so I just say, hey, you're paying $159 for a 10 by 20, and you don't like that? No, I think you should have blah 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 and this blah blah blah. And I'm like, I just will tell you, I've learned that I like to let go my bottom 5% of my customers, and I'm going to give you the freedom to go be a customer somewhere else, because I don't need the bottom 5% of my customers, and with your perspective, you've stepped into that arena, and so now you're the bottom 5%, and they go, well, I thought you'd want my money, and I'd say, well, the market rate, the street rate on that unit's $179, and you've been with us for 8 years, and you're starting to complain, and you're only paying $159, so I'm going to make more when you leave. And if you'd like to have a change of attitude and want to keep working together with me like you have for the last 8 years, that would be great. I'd love to serve you. And, but you're not, you can't say this to your parishioners, but you're not that special. There's 700 other people. I got to take care of them. And I'm going to always have integrity, but I'm not always going to be able to make you happy. And I don't want to lose sleep, and I will not lose sleep over your $159 a month. So you can go ahead and move on. And I don't know if that's going to make the cut, but let me tell you about some dreams that I've got. I've got friends who are letting me know they're getting ready to go down to Pasadena, and I want to have a party in Pasadena, and we have to have a way of talking to each other. And so I'm going to start a Facebook page, and it's going to be, and I'm going to mess this up, and anyway, it's going to be called Wealth Transfer Friends. And I might have it be version 1 or whatever, because I know it's going to be wrong, and I know that people are going to, I know it's just not going to be right. I know that people are going to go on there, and bots are going to get on there and start saying all these stupid things, and some people are going to find out that there's actually a bunch of wealthy people that are on Wealth Transfer Friends, and they're going to start trying to target us, and some people are going to act like they're me. I will never ask for money, and so just know that. And let me tell you this. I have had interesting things happen in my life where I've had a lot of people who didn't share my patriotic, freedom, libertarian, America is great perspective. And so I've had a lot of hate on social media, and that's probably why I don't do it very much. But I will tell you, it really affected my family, because these people had a really skewed perspective, and they're saying bad things and blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't lose any sleep over that, and that's going to happen again. I don't care. You may care, but we might have to do it again and then get people to go through and agree to these certain standards. So, I'm willing to do that. We might do that. But we're going to have Wealth Transfer Friends on Facebook, and it'll be a similar logo. It'll have this logo. I'll show you on the page right now, and you'll know that's us. But I've got people, so here's some of my dreams. If you show up in Pasadena and you let me know on Facebook Friends that you're going to show up, I'd like to invest some money in my followers. I don't want money this time from my followers, but if we only get 10 people to show up, then I'd like to buy you dinner. But if there's more than 10, then I'd like to buy you ice cream. And, if we're going to get a break, I think on Friday, I don't know what day that is, it's probably the 5th, an afternoon break, if we have like 20 people or 50 people that come, I'm going to go to this ice cream store, to be determined, but I already know where it's at. And as many people that can show me on their phone that, hey, you're a subscriber to my channel, but you can't share it with people online because I don't want to buy, if they're not a follower, I'm not buying their ice cream. But, let's see if we can buy, 80 ice cream cones in Pasadena. And they got to be double on a really good cone like, I would do. Although I'm trying to cut back a little bit, but I will buy you a double scoop cone at Salt and Straw, and you can get a fancy cone, and, it's probably like $9, and I'm happy to invest in you. I think it'll be fun. We'll get some pictures. We'll put it on the channel. But if only 4 or 5 of you show up, then I guess we're going out to a nice dinner. And that'll be really fun. And if 10 of you show up, I guess I'm going out to a nice dinner twice. And so, Wealth Transfer Friends on Facebook that you're going to join in Pasadena. And then I want you to tell me if we should have t-shirts and what the design should be, and you should post it on there. And I'm getting my website developed. In fact, let me tell you about websites. So when I was in Fiji's got a logistical problem. They live in the middle of islands that are far more isolated than the Hawaiian Islands, and they don't have the population of the Hawaiian Islands, and they don't have the capital. They've got lots of potential. And I love the leadership that I met. And I guess I should have known this, but I was just amazed at this godly group of sophisticated people I met that have all kinds of potential, but they're wrestling with what can they export. And I said to them, you know what you should do? And they go, what? And this is with the guy who was with us. He's a high level, I guess you'd say, a senator in the country. It would be like Mitch McConnell. Actually, he's the head of the opposition. So it'd be like, but I don't like Mitch McConnell, but I love this guy. And I said to him, you're a godly guy. You know godly people. You've got very talented sons. You should offer a simple beginning business website construction for $1,000 for 5 pages for somebody to get a business going. And that's a really great price. That's a lot cheaper than what people are doing it for in America. But if it's only 5 pages, now you don't get a Cadillac for $1,000, and maybe it'll be $1,200. I don't know what it'll be, but it'll basically be half the price you could do it for here. And now all these people are going to go, they're going to go, oh, I want to do it. I want to do it. Well, you didn't want to do it before. I've been admitting I've had this problem. I've got the worst website in the history of American entrepreneurship, and nobody's been coming to help me. And I could eventually figure it out, but I got more important things to do. And so these guys are going, Larry, how can we help you? And I said, why don't you start a business? And I said, I think I'll put it on my channel, and it'll be like Fiji websites, and beginning websites for $1,000, and they'll teach you what you need on your website, and they'll put it together for you, and then you will buy the domain and the program to do the website. They'll probably restrict it to a couple different applications like WordPress and Wix. And then you'll allow them access, they'll do it, and then you'll take the access back and switch the passwords, and so they don't have access anymore to your stuff. And as your business grows and prospers, you can give them the password back, and they can update it and charge you some more money. And anyway, I think if that's a good idea, put that on Wealth Transfer Friends. Yeah, I want a Fiji website. I want to get in line, and after they do yours, I want to do mine. And then another thing that I have been talking to 2 other business people, and I'm not going to tell you about one of them, but one of them is my guy who helped me write my last book. And I felt that I'm supposed to start another book. And did the first time I've ever given a prophecy, and I put it on my voice recorder and I sent it to him, and I said, Mark, I just got to tell you, this is what I think God's saying about your business. And the word was that he's going to recruit people to help other people write, so that he's going to assemble a team of editors and interesting people who are passionate writers. And then he's also going to assemble a group of people that want to write books. And I think many of you have got a destiny and a call to write. And, you know, publishers, they're not going to like me saying this, but they just shut the door. They're just gatekeepers, and you have to write it just right, the way they want it to. And, you know, I tried, but I couldn't get through. So I thought, well, I don't need to make a living off books, and I've got some money, so I'll self-publish, and it'll cost me a couple $1,000s. And it's working really good. And I get excited to sell books, not because of the money, but because of the impact. But many of you are going to be able to have impact as well as make money. And then some of you are going to get paid helping those people write. And I think my friend Mark is going to bring the two together, and I'm going to do an interview with him. So go to Wealth Transfer Friends if you think that that's kind of an exciting thing, and say, hey, I've got a destiny to write a book. I've got a destiny to start a business. I need a webpage. And so those are ideas. I think those are kingdom ideas. I might be wrong. Maybe you're going to tell me that I'm all wet. You can say that too. You know, you don't need to treat me with kid gloves. I'm a big boy, literally and mentally and intellectually. And my identity is not what you think of me. I try to make my identity what God says about me in his word. And so anyway, I hope that you are dreaming about your ministry. You have to have one. I believe that many of you are dreaming about your business. You don't have to have one, but I think God's calling you to start one for impact. I hope that you are dreaming about the investor that you're going to be, and I want to inspire you in that. And I hope that you will come to the Builder 12 groups that we're going to begin to talk more and more about. I'm headed to coaching with a friend next in 2 weeks. I'm going to be in Bend scouting territories, and we're building the team, and we'll probably do an update from there. And so I'm really excited. And you might be going, well, Larry, why in the world are you doing this? Why are you telling us what you're doing? You haven't even done it yet. Well, I've been thinking about that. And if you're like me, you've probably heard a lot of sermons on Joseph and, the dreams he got and how it was a big mistake for him to share his dream with his brothers. And I think those people are all wet. Those people who don't think that Joseph should have shared his dreams, because what kind of impact would it have been if he hadn't have said, hey, I saw you guys all, bowing down, to me in the future. And they got so mad they wanted to kill him. Half of his brothers wanted to kill him. And the older, wiser one said, hey, let's just sell him. And so they had to live with that their whole lives, and they regretted what they did with their brother. Just because he had a big dream, he shared it. But the impact came later when God led him to make them live out the dream. And so, how does that apply to you, Larry? Well, I'm like, was it Hank Aaron? No, it was Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth was the home run king, but you know what he also was? He was the strikeout king. And so I feel like God's saying, Larry, I'm calling you to do great things. And I want you to show my people that if they have a huge dream, could be from God. And they need to find out what their destiny is. And Larry, I'm going to let you be crazy, because you've done a lot of crazy things and you've almost always been successful. But like I said, when we play games like Risk and Monopoly and different family games, I either win big or lose spectacularly. And just like Babe Ruth, I swing for the fence, and a lot of times I strike out. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to fail early and fail often, but I don't think I'm going to end up as a failure, because my identity is not my business. It's not my ministry. It's not as an investor. It's who God says I am, and I don't care what other people say. That's a very uncomfortable thing, that my wife doesn't like it, that I don't care what other people think about me. But I do care about what 10% of the people think about me, and maybe you're in that 10%, because I want to be before God. I want to be a good example. But I think I want to show you that people who are wildly successful fail all the time. They just fail in a small way. It's so easy to fail in a business when it's not your whole livelihood and it's not your whole identity. I don't care if I don't sell any t-shirts. I don't care if I don't sell any books. I'm not selling books to make money. I'm selling books to make impact. And I hope you buy my books. And I really appreciate the people that have reviewed the books. And everybody's given me a 5-star, and I love that. But if you don't want to give me a 5-star, I would rather have you email or get a hold of me through, I'd rather have a bad post on Facebook Friends about my book than I would a lousy review on Amazon. But if you want to give me a lousy review, give it a lousy review. But people are encouraged by it. I think that people are impacted. I appreciate those if you take the time to do a comment. But I want you to go to Facebook Friends today and sign up and start following it. And then when we get all these crazy bots, we'll have to do Facebook Friends 2.0, and somebody will have to be the moderator, because I'm probably not going to do that, because I don't care, because people say dumb things on social media and I just don't lose any sleep. But I'm excited about your destiny. I'm excited that you begin to dream, and I appreciate you taking this time today. Thank you.